Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm coming to you with a weekly review of books. I haven't come up with the name for it. I'll probably come up with something really clever like Booked Sundays or Sunday Booked. And this is just what I've thought of in the last 2 seconds because I kind of want to make a continuous series on my channel, fingers crossed, where I'm talking about what I'm reading, what I've been reading, what I finished, what I want to read at the end of every week so that it's kind of like a continuous video diary. I find this easier than making vlogs because I've realized that I can add clips of my week at the beginning of every video. And secondly, I did buy a mic. It's sitting very awkwardly on my sweater. I hope it's picking up the audio right because I have no idea if it's working or not. I just know that the light is flashing, which means it's on. Um, so yeah, in this week, I'm going to talk about three books. There's one that I've finished, one that I'm currently reading, and then one that I want to read. So let's start with the book that I finished. This one is called Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. It's a Japanese book about two teenagers who are ruthlessly bullied in school, and it's about like a platonic friendship that they form so that they can give each other support, companionship, friendship, that kind of a thing to ease each other's troubles and understand each other's struggles. Now, I love the idea of this book, like a platonic friendship between two kids who are bullied and who can like offer each other support and companionship. Like, I genuinely love that. But this book kind of disappointed me not even disappointed me, it was just different because I ended up giving it between 2 to 3 stars. And it's because it turned very philosophical, like the kids are being bullied because everything happens for a reason and there's a logic behind it. And sometimes things make sense and sometimes they don't. And I found that logic very hard to follow. And to me, kids are mean and kids are ruthless and kids are pretty horrible to each other. But there doesn't have to be like a grand meaning behind it. It's just because they're horrible kids and they have no empathy or kindness towards their friends or people in their class. And I just don't like the philosophical aspect of it because not everything um, has to have double meanings. And I just don't like that aspect of a book because I feel like I really would have enjoyed a story about two teenagers getting to know each other, dealing with the bullying together, and coming up with, like, a nice, cozy, warm friendship to support each other. But I found like the philosophical aspects of this book slightly weird. And at times, I found this book very hard to read because the things that the kids were going through were really, really horrible. Like, they were described in a lot of graphic details, like they were being beaten up, they were just, their bodies were going through so much, and there's so much description of that I genuinely found it hard to read. So if you are someone who is sensitive to that and you're looking to read this book, just know that there will be pages and pages of gruesome detail that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable. Now, getting to the book that I want to read in the upcoming week, this one has a slightly controversial title. It's called Harlots, Whores, and Hackabouts by Kate Lister. This is a library book written by the same author who wrote A Curious History of Sex. And this is basically a history of sex work and how it came about to be. This is a short book, but it has a lot of, oh wow, okay, let's not drop a library book. It has like a lot of pictures, diagrams, things like that to kind of like explain the history. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. I also have the audiobook for this, which is about 4 hours. So essentially, it's not a long book. It's just it has a lot of references and pictures and things like that, which make it seem like a very, very thick book. So looking forward to reading this one. It's because I enjoyed Kate Lister's first book, and like the first one that I read, and I really liked her narration and the way that she explained things. So this is the one that I'm looking forward to reading. And the third book that I want to talk about is one that I'm currently reading. I'm obsessed with it. I really, really love it. And it's called Africa is Not a Country by Deepo Feloyan. I really hope that's how you pronounce it. But this is basically a non-fiction book by a Nigerian author who basically talks about all the stereotypes, the negative stereotypes that are present about Africa. There's a bit of a glare on it, so I'm going to pop up a picture here, put the book down, keep my hands free because I talk with my hands. But basically, this book breaks down all the negative stereotypes that are present in the Western media about Africa, how Africans are portrayed as poor, diseased, having no future, no roads. It's a country of just dust and no rivers, kind of a thing. And all of these stereotypes that are present and how they're not true. And what is the intent of like pushing this image of Africa in the Western media? And I love the way this book is written because the author has a very kind of a sarcastic narration, but also he has done such a brilliant job of just explaining the history, breaking down the colonization, the treaties, the things that happened behind closed doors, how decisions were made about the entire continent without any African representation, which again, I'm very familiar with the colonial history because I am from a formerly colonized country where decisions were made about them without anyone asking them, hey, do you guys want this? But it was basically mostly the European countries kind of breaking down other countries, for example, breaking down the entire continent of Africa, dividing it amongst themselves, seeing who's going to benefit from who, and without a single thought about maybe we should ask the people in Africa, like if they want this. But it was just an exploitation of the natural resources of the people, of how the slave trade came to be and how it benefited and profited the European countries. And so far where I'm at is they're talking about the white savior complex and how the Western world needs to come together to save Africa from disease, from famine, from Ebola virus, from all these things, because Africans themselves are incapable of doing anything on their own. So they need help from the Western countries. And it's kind of like an interesting perspective because how many of these videos have we seen where they're like, for only $2, like you can now help a child in Africa. And it's this imagery that is being touted by these like Western media organizations that they want to feel better about themselves. They really do think they're making a difference without really taking into consideration how much harm they're doing by making such videos. And it also has a commentary on how these media events took place to raise money for causes in Africa. One of the prime examples being Live Aid, which was in 1985, which was a concert that I've seen the Queen performance of because I love the Queen performance in that. But if you think about it, like they were trying to raise money for to fight the famine in Ethiopia, which again on the page seems like the perfect thing to do. But at the same time, are we looking at the intent? Are these people holding this massive concert to help raise money because they think that the people in Africa can't do anything about it? And it's about like swooping in from the outside and helping the poor people who can't help themselves. And really, what it's about is feeling better about yourself and the fact that you're doing something without considering the negative ramifications of it, because all the aid, the Western money pouring in, has helped destabilize like political regimes in Africa because um, governments have used the money to buy weapons to fight each other and create more differences. There's one example that I really liked, which was about the song called Band Aid or Do They Know It's Christmas? The song came out in 1984 and it was basically about just the poor people in Africa. Do they know it's Christmas? I mean, for a continent that's majority Christian, you would think that they know what Christmas is. But the song implied that just because it's so poor and so diseased and people are really, really miserable, they don't even know that it's Christmas. And the song has deeply offensive lyrics. There was a 20th anniversary version of it, which came out in 2004, which is the one that I vividly remember because it used to be on TV all the time. And this was the time when I was in school and I used to watch Top of the Pops every Friday because I was into music, and it would be the number one song for weeks and weeks. And what it does is it basically perpetuates the idea that, the song is being used to raise awareness, but at the same time, it's about a completely fictional place. And it keeps coming out with new versions. Like there was a Band Aid 20, which was the 20th anniversary version. And then there was a Band Aid 30, which was the 30th anniversary version, where they've made like slight changes to the lyrics, but the ultimate purpose is the same. And the creators are completely ignoring the criticism that is coming up by genuine African people who are offended by it because they just think that they've done such a good job of like representing Africa while never visiting there. So, anyhow, I'm really, really excited to finish this book. I'm on page 124, and I believe the total book is around 378, including notes and references. So, really looking forward to finishing this one, and we'll definitely keep you guys posted. So, yeah, that's it for now. I have a bus to catch in about 10 minutes, so I just have to leave the house. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any comments, any thoughts, anything that I've said in the video, any of these books you have any thoughts on, and hopefully I'll be able to continue this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.